This is CNN.
Welcome to CNN VR. I'm Wolf Blitzer. Let's take a tour of this newsroom of the future. Each of the hexagons in front of you is a video. Grab one and place it on the globe.
All right, so turning to former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe, fired, just hours before his retirement. Senator Marco Rubio reacted this morning with this.
I don't like the way it happened. He should have been allowed to finish through the weekend. That said, look, there's an Inspector General report that's due and work that's being done. And after he had retired, if that report would have indicated wrongdoing or something that was actionable, there are things that could have been done after the fact, but 48 hours to go before retirement, I would have certainly done it differently, given the fact there's still this report out there that hasn't come in.
All right, so Norm, we heard from McCabe's attorney via tweet saying we're not going to respond to all of this.
The frantic search for a missing 16-year-old girl is now over. The 45-year-old married man she ran away with is now in custody. Authorities in Mexico found Amy Yu yesterday near Cancun. She is said to be unharmed and in good health. She soon will be reunited with her family in Pennsylvania. Meantime, Kevin Esterly, the married father of 4 she disappeared with, has been arrested. The two disappeared together nearly 2 weeks ago. That's when someone saw them on a flight from Philly to Cancun. Kevin Esterly's wife has obtained an attorney.
He's been known to the family for like 8 years. They've gone on vacations. They've gone to the shore, amusement parks. It was clear because of the way they would behave with each other. It was clear in a woman's, intuition. And he was checking Amy out of school and doing things that were inappropriate at his age with a 16-year-old girl.
The age of consent in Pennsylvania is 16. Esterly will reportedly face a charge of interference with the custody of a child when he's extradited back to Pennsylvania. And according to the girl's family as well, Esterly signed Amy out of school early 10 times since January, and he listed himself as a stepfather.
This is one of the coldest places in the world, Siberia. Every winter, the Russian territory's average daily temperature is below 0 degrees Fahrenheit. The cold turns the entire region into a vast icy plain for months on end. One dot on the frozen landscape, the village of Gribnoy, its population about 100. This is 81-year-old Lydia Antonovna Saratova. She's been living here with her husband since 1944. Naturally, she's learned a few tricks to survive the long, frosty winter. The village has electricity, but no gas for heating, so Lydia and her husband rely mostly on wood and coal. Wasting any heat this time of year is unthinkable. Supplies are the other major issue for villages like Gribnoy, which only has one small general. This is one of the coldest places in the world, Siberia. Every winter, the Russian territory's average daily temperature is below 0 degrees Fahrenheit. The cold turns the entire region into a vast icy plain for months on end. One dot on the frozen landscape, the village of Gribnoy, its population about 100. This is 81-year-old Lydia Antonovna Saratova. She's been living here with her husband since 1944. Naturally, she's learned a few tricks to survive the long, frosty winter. The village has electricity, but no gas for heating, so Lydia and her husband rely mostly on wood and coal. Wasting any heat this time of year is unthinkable. Supplies are the other major issue for villages like Gribnoy, which only has one small general store. Lydia and her husband stockpile wood and pickled food. As for meat and fish, the icy outdoors act as a natural refrigerator. Lydia says living here in the wintry elements has kept her young. She still walks to her daughter's house to get milk every day, with the occasional stop to greet a neighbor. But the neighborhood is shrinking. Gribnoy has had trouble attracting new residents. Residents like Lydia may live a simple life, but for many others, surviving these types of winters isn't so simple. I'm Fred Pleitgen, and this is CNN in Virtual Reality.
You feel sort of transported when you go inside of the rooms. Feels a little bit like being maybe in outer space. My name is Sarah Lawyer. I'm the assistant curator at the Broad, and you're here to see Infinity Mirrors, the exhibition by Yayoi Kusama. The first room that you enter is this Infinity Mirror room, souls of millions of light years away.
You're in the heart of the Old City, the Holy Land, or Terra Sancta. All three Abrahamic faiths hold this part of Jerusalem sacred. The imposing stone walls are home to some of the holiest sites for Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Perhaps no piece of real estate on earth is more contentious than this hill in the city's southeast corner. It even goes by two different names, known as the Temple Mount for Jews and as the Noble Sanctuary for Muslims. Any perceived change to the holy site sends tensions in Jerusalem and the region soaring, its status a delicate balance between Israelis, Palestinians, and Jordanians. And in a region where politics, religion, and territory are intertwined, this site has taken on ever greater significance. President Trump's decision to move the U.S. Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem is a controversial one because of the centuries-long dispute over this very spot. At the very heart of this compound is the foundation stone, housed inside the iconic Dome of the Rock, whose golden roof
It's a phenomenon measured in millimeters across decades, involving complicated chains of cause and effect, often half a planet away. What does climate change look like? To the naked eye, it may be hard to see. But for the people living here in Greenland, it's a reality they can't ignore. The evidence is all around them. Come, see for yourself. This is Helheim, named after the Viking realm of the dead. It is one of Greenland's fastest-moving glaciers and is both vast and unforgiving. A mass of thick ice, glaciers slowly slide into the sea under the force of their own weight. In case you need a climate change refresher, remember that it starts with carbon emissions. When our cars and factories burn fuel, we release carbon into the atmosphere. As the gases build up, they trap heat, warming the planet. But a 2-degree Fahrenheit increase in temperature in just over a century was just the first domino of many. When it fell, it tripped an almost endless sequence of environmental fallout. Here in the Arctic Circle, the domino effect is already clear. Glaciers are melting faster than before, and all that extra water is flowing into the oceans.
There's hundreds of glaciers like this in Greenland.
Jason Box is a glaciologist with the Geological Survey of Denmark and Greenland. He's made over 20 expeditions to gather information on the front lines of climate change.
To understand what's going on, you can follow the water. Water draining in heats the ice internally, lubricates flow at the bed, and that's when we see fast acceleration.
Look up and you'll see me drop some ice in this hole to see how deep it is. Listen, you can actually hear the ice melting.
Today and for the last 20 years, Greenland has been more than a factor of 2 the largest source of sea level rise.
Hundreds of miles away is Summit Station. The only way to get to this American outpost is by military aircraft. A Hercules transport plane lands with giant skis on a runway of snow. When the last flight leaves before
You're standing in Idlib province in Syria. We're now 7 years into the country's civil war, and Idlib was meant to be a safe place, the largest remaining, for over 1 million displaced Syrians. But this part of the so-called de-escalation zone is now the site of intensifying airstrikes by the Syrian regime and its Russian backers. And once again, these civilians are left digging whatever they can salvage out of the rubble. The United Nations estimates 2.5 million people are living in Idlib. Hundreds of thousands of them have been displaced in just the last few weeks, fleeing airstrikes and fighting in the Idlib, Hama, and Aleppo countrysides. But with Turkey's borders closed and regime-held areas surrounding the province, Idlib is in a chokehold. Many end up in camps like this one, set up by Turkish aid organizations. For some of these families, this isn't the first time that they've had to run for their lives. Many of them are from Aleppo, the once flourishing city laid waste by this conflict. Now Idlib, the last main refuge from this war, has become its newest target. And where do you go when there's nowhere left to run? I'm Arwa Damon in Idlib, and this is CNN in virtual reality.